Hello, my name's Craig Hamilton Parker and I'm a medium. I've been a medium all my life. Now, a medium is somebody that communicates with the spirit world and gives proof of life after death. Now, I'd like to talk today about angels, real angels, angels that can be experienced, not just angels that are fantasy and made up stories or dreams, but angels whether they're real or not. And it's all based around my book called Real Angels, right? So it's a plug there, but it's not going to be all about the book. I want to tell you a little bit about angels and what they are. But let's start first with a sort of story. Let's do a little description. The book has actually been compiled from letters that have been sent to me through my media columns. Now, I've been working all my life, really, most of my working life anyway, as a medium, and I've worked a lot for the newspapers, and so I was getting letters from all over the place, and lots of people were coming up with stories about angels. This is way before the internet, when all these things became trendy, because people were a little bit reluctant, perhaps, then to talk about these things, in case they think they're, like me, a bit nutty. But anyway, let's read one of the stories. I like this one. I'll tell you why in a minute. Please answer my letter, as the other day my wife and I experienced something so strange that has left us both completely perplexed. In the early hours of Saturday morning, we were both unable to sleep and were worried about my mother, who was seriously ill in hospital. My wife and I lay together in bed, looking out at the starlit sky. Suddenly, a brilliant ball of light hovered about the size of a tennis ball, hovered outside our window and illuminated the room. It was not car lights passing by or anything like we've ever seen before. It was a brilliant ball of light. I noted the time. It was 1:30 a.m. On Sunday morning, I received a call from the hospital. Mother had died at exactly 1:30 that night. My wife and I are frightened by what we saw. Can you offer an explanation? Well, definitely nothing to be frightened about there. Was that an angel? Was it a spirit? Was it ball lightning? Hard to explain some of these things, but you can come up with all the explanations in the world until it actually happens to you. Because Jane and I had an experience extremely similar to that. I mean, we were laid in bed. This is quite soon after we were together, and we were laid in bed and just laid there, and suddenly in the middle of the room there was a ball of light. Now, to me it was bigger than a tennis ball like she's described. I would have said it was about this big, and we looked up and there was this ball of light just hovering in the middle of the room, just hovering like that. I'm unusual, although I'm a medium, I also have a bit of a skeptical mind, and it's not often you actually see something so visual as that. Now, this isn't after images on the eye or anything like that. We weren't looking at bright lights and seeing the light floating around as a retinal image. It wasn't anything like lightning or anything like that, because it was a clear night, no lightning, no sounds, nothing like that was happening. It was quite dark at night. But the thing that you can't describe is there was a sort of energy in the room. It's like stepping into a giant battery of some sort. The whole place was sort of humming, like this, like the whole room was filled with this energy. Well, of course, I looked up, and this didn't take long. This was a few seconds. I looked up and looked at this ball of light, and my God, and Jane looked at me, what's going on, And I had more hair then. I could feel the hair on my head sort of becoming almost electrified. So it had an electrical quality to it, but it wasn't electrical in nature. So I just leapt out of bed and went to grab it. It was just my instinct. I mean, that's probably not the right thing you do if an angel appeared or whatever it was. I leapt out of bed and went to grab it, and as I jumped out of bed, it bounced across the room. It actually bounced off one wall and then bounced off another wall, and then it was a fairly small room, and it then shot through the door. So I got up, ran after it in a frantic search. Nothing, nothing there at all. So when it happens to you, you have to think twice, and now you're just listening to my testimony about this. But I saw something that night, and so did Jane. The thing is, we saw it together. Two people saw it exactly the same time, just like in that little story I just read from the book there. Because you know, if two people see it, then two people have witnessed it, and there's no way we were sort of making anything up or just thinking, oh, there's a little fuzzy sort of light going around. This was so bright it illuminated the whole darkened room. Now, I can't really explain that. I've thought about it a lot through my life and thought, well, is it spirit? It was around about the time that my wife Jane became pregnant, so maybe was it the spirit of our daughter entering her body at that point or something? Or was it an angel? The next day, actually, we had planned a ghost hunt. I'm into ghost hunts, to be honest, but the Spiritualist Church had told us to come along and could we help out somebody that had was on a boat that was haunted, and could we help clear it? So we had quite an interesting thing ahead. You know, I wasn't sure if this was a real thing or this was some crackpot, but this is what happened before that event. That's the story in another book. But anyway, the stories of the angels and your stories of the angels, if you've had some experiences like this too, you might find very similar sort of things in there in my book, Real Angels. Now, it's not just about angels, because it's also and spiritual encounters, because real angel stories are pretty rare, if you ask me. I think fantasy angel stories are numerous, but there's also other things in there, because I've got the Meetings with Angels section. I also write in here a lot about spirit children. Now, that's some interesting stories there about how children appear, but also how children sometimes know about people that have died already, and how did they know that? How did they know my granddad's name was this, and so forth, you know? So there's interesting evidence and proof there. I've done some other stories in here about people that have actually had glimpses of having stepped out of their body and gone to heaven. And these are all ordinary people, you know, they're not people on, you know, they're just ordinary people having these experiences. There's a whole section about near-death experiences. That's become a lot more popular nowadays, but a lot of my people writing to me here were quite old, you know, so this was before these stories were given to me, before it became kind of popular on the net and there's TV programs. Then I've done a section about reincarnation memories. Now, that's contrary to what a lot of spiritualists think, but I'm a very great believer in reincarnation. But again, can we get proof of that? We can get proof of the stories, you know? Verification, that's the important thing. And there's a section about prophecy and premonitions. Another one about time slips. That's an interesting one, because, you know, people that go have a glimpse of somewhere long ago, you know, where they've actually experienced it as it was in those times for a short period of time, and as if they've been whisked through time and come back to normality again. Fantasy or fact? There's some very interesting stories in here, many of which correlate with each other. And then a general section about paranormal powers, and another one about general unexplained things. So there's weird coincidences and things talked about in there, and telepathy powers and all this type of thing. But these are from people that don't normally make a claim to having psychic powers. And also, I know they're genuine, these people, because we had to research them. Because as I was writing for a newspaper at this time, we had to actually go and check them out. We had to ring them up, check that they were okay with the story being published, check that they were real people, not some teenager writing on a blog somewhere. This was real stories, real interesting stories about angels and all sorts of other spiritual encounters. So here we go, here's the plug, go and buy my book. But also, you may actually enjoy coming to the website as well, because we've got chat rooms there where we talk about this type of thing, and forums where you can post questions. It's on the bottom of the video, of course. And yeah, but get the book. It is an interesting thing, isn't it? Are there angels? Are they real?